A common thing I love to talk about when it comes to video games is fan theories surrounding the games. It's such a fun and interesting topic, which is why today I bring to you the video game theories iceberg. Please enjoy. Starting off with one of my favorite fan theories of all time. Many fans have speculated that the 1999 Nintendo video game, Majora's Mask, exhibits the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. If you are unfamiliar with Majora's Mask, the game takes place in an alternate world known as Termina. In this world, a young imp by the name of Skull Kid steals a corrupted mask by the name of Majora, and uses it to crash the moon into Termina, causing it to kill everyone. As the game progresses, the player comes across many who have to experience their fate, the fate of death. The first stage is represented by the townsfolk, who live in Clocktown, each of them denying the fact that the moon will crash, stating that it's all a lie, and the festival must continue. Anger is portrayed by the Deku King, who, out of anger of his princess disappearing, punishes an innocent monkey, hoping to get information out of him. Bargaining being depicted by the ghost of Darmani, a famous Goron warrior in the Snowhead Mountains who lost his life trying to save Snowhead from a curse, and his soul lingers on as a ghost. Wanting to finally be free of his unresting state, Darmani begs Link to do whatever he can to put his soul to rest. As Link plays the Song of Healing, he feels happiness as his soul is finally laid to rest. Depression is expressed by Lulu, the lead singer of the Indie-Go-Go's. When her eggs are stolen by a group of pirates, the guitarist of the band, Mikao, pursues the pirates to retrieve what they had stolen. Instead, he is caught and tortured. When the pirates are bored, he is thrown back into the ocean. When Link rescues him, it's already too late. In his dying breath, he tells Link about the eggs. Following his death, Lulu loses most of her hope, having not only to deal with the kidnapping of her children, but also the death of her closest friend. The final stage of grief is represented by Link himself, acceptance. The final dungeon takes place in Ikana Valley, the Valley of Death. This is Link's last trial before fighting Skull Kid. Many believe that Link, in the Valley of Death, is accepting his own death. Many believe this theory to be true, as when Link travels to Termina, he falls down a tree into a void-like area, where a sequence similar to Alice in Wonderland plays out. All Zelda games take fall damage very seriously, so it is believed that Link died during this fall, and the game is him going through the 5 stages of grief himself. That was depressing. Let's move on to something more happy and lighthearted. Many speculate that Nintendo's 1988 game Super Mario Bros. 3 is actually a stage play. The starting screen starts with the stage curtain opening. Blocks are bolted to the background and cast a shadow on the skyline. When Mario ends the level, he walks off stage right. Many of these have shown to players that Super Mario Bros. 3 is actually a stage play, and even Miyamoto himself confirmed that this theory was in fact true. Honestly, I would love to discuss a bunch of the Five Nights at Freddy's theories, but if I did, this video would go on for over an hour, and I'm not even sure which theory to cover as there's almost a million of them by now. I'll just quickly list some, and if any of them sound interesting, I'll leave Matpat's playlist in the description below. Some of these theories include Freddy has a handprint on his face, you play as Mike Schmidt, you play as William Afton in Sister Location. The Five Nights at Freddy's websites are talking to each other in the code, and Sister Location is located under FNaF 4's house. As much as I'd like to go into these series, this video would be incredibly long, so again, in the description I have linked Matpat's videos on them. They're really good, and I recommend going to watch them. Sans' Ness was once a decently big meme created after Matpat's video, Game Theory Undertale, Sans' Secret Identity. in which Matpat speculates that Sans from Undertale is actually Ness from Earthbound. This comes from many different points of evidence. In Undertale, Sans states that he wants to go home, or go back. In the game, Sans has a hidden workshop that contains items that give even more hints that Sans is Ness. In the workshop, Sans has a photo album with a lot of unrecognizable people, a badge, blueprints, and a broken machine. There was also a hand-drawn picture of 3 people with the words, "Don't forget." Matpat theorizes about the items, starting with the badge. In Undertale, badges aren't very important, they're rarely mentioned throughout the game. However, the Mother franchise is home to one of the most iconic and important badges in gaming, the Franklin badge. When it comes to the photo album, at the end of Earthbound, the player is shown a photo album which sounds similar to the one that Sans has in his workshop. Before the end of Earthbound, the main characters have to travel to the past to have their final battle with Gaius. To do that, Dr. Undona creates what's known as the Phase Distorter, a machine that lets people travel through time and space. However, it cannot transport organic matter. Matpat theorized that this is why Sans is a skeleton. He used the machine as organic matter and travels through time, leaving him as a skeleton. Behind the curtain in his workshop, it is theorized that there is a broken phase distorter. The Great Pokemon War, also known as Kanto War, is a war many fans have theorized to be real in the Pokemon universe, ending a couple years before the events of Pokemon Red and Blue. Many believe that Lieutenant Surge, the Vermilion City gym leader, was a soldier in this war. When first encountering him, he mentions how an electric-type Pokemon saved his butt during the war. Many also use this theory to speculate as to why Red's father is never shown, and why Blue is an orphan, both whose parents were most likely killed during the war. The Madden Curse is a fairly well-known curse, as most of the athletes who have been featured on the Madden box art have had an injury so bad that they would not be able to play. The curse started with Madden 99, in which Garrison Hurst, who, after being the first ever cover athlete for the Madden NFL games, suffered a broken ankle in the second round game against the Atlanta Falcons. Post-surgery revealed that one of his foot bones was left dead, and he may never return to the field again. The curse remained for 14 years. Each featured athlete had some sort of terrible injury. That was until Madden 13, in which Calvin Johnson of the Detroit Lions never suffered any terrible injury. In fact, Johnson's 2012 season was one of his best overall. A very well-known theory in the Super Smash Bros. Community is the theory that the franchise takes place inside of a child's imagination. This theory stems from the intro to the first Super Smash Bros., in which a hand can be seen picking up what looks to be stuffed animals and dragging them onto a desk. The hands then rearrange the counter, and magically the background transforms and all the characters come to life. The child is speculated to be 10 years old. In Super Smash Bros. Melee, the background of the trophy room shows a shelf, with many different Nintendo consoles stored on the shelf. Around this time, the child is believed to be 14 years old. The next game, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, has Solid Snake entering the fight. Many speculate that due to the maturity of the Metal Gear franchise, the child is now around 20 years old. In the game's campaign mode, Subspace Emissary, the final boss appears to be a humanoid creature who starts to attack the player. This is believed to be the child's conflicting emotions. Part of him is judging himself, feeling that he's way too old to still be playing with his toys. However, the other part of him doesn't want to stop. He wants to keep his young mind forever. In the first Pokemon games, Pokemon Red and Blue, the player will have to fight their in-game rival, Gary. Around halfway through the game, Gary will have a team of 4 Pokemon, including a level 16 Raticate. However, following this encounter, Gary has each of his Pokemon that he had originally, except for his Raticate. Later, when you encounter Gary in Lavender Town, he is found in Pokemon Tower, a well-known graveyard. Some claim that when speaking to Gary, Gary asks the player, "Do you know what it's like to have a Pokemon die?" However, Gary never says this. Instead, when encountering him, he'll say, "What are you doing here? Your Pokemon doesn't look dead. I can at least make them faint. Let's go, pal." Which is quite a nonchalant thing to say if his Pokemon did die. Polybius was a fictional arcade game that was released in 1981 and was said to be a part of a government-run crowdsourced psychology experiment that took place in Portland, Oregon. The gameplay of Polybius would produce many intense psychoactive and addictive effects in anyone who played the game. Those who played suffered negative side effects, including amnesia, insomnia, night terrors, and hallucination. Periodically, these arcade machines have been said to be visited by the Men in Black to data mine the machine. The company that has been called responsible for the game was a small company named Symbolism, deriving from two German words, Sinne, meaning senses, and Löschen, meaning to extinguish. This section contains spoilers to Limbo. Limbo is an interesting game with many theories surrounding it. However, one of the most popular theories speculates that the boy you play as is actually dead. It is speculated that after the boy fell and died from his treehouse, instead of going to the afterlife, he is sent through Limbo in order to say goodbye to his sister. The ending shows his sister mourning over him, and when he approaches, she feels his presence, and the boy completes his farewell. The Triforce is a major symbol in the Legend of Zelda franchise. Each pyramid of the Triforce represents something different. The top piece represents the Triforce of power, the right piece represents the Triforce of courage, and the left piece represents the Triforce of wisdom. However, there is an open spot in the Triforce that many have theorized is its own piece, but has been lost. Many point to Link's Hylian shield in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, showing that underneath the Hylian eagle is a fourth upside-down triangle, which would have fit perfectly inside the original Triforce. It is believed that this fourth Triforce piece would represent something evil, something demented, as in Japan the number 4 is viewed as an unlucky number, as the number 4 in Japanese is pronounced shi, which is the same exact pronunciation as the word death. It is believed that many of the monsters in Silent Hill games are symbolizing a part of different characters in each game. For these examples, I will be using Silent Hill 2 as it is the most iconic game in the franchise. The bubblehead nurse, along with the lying figure, represent Silent Hill 2's protagonist James's time in the hospital. His wife, Mary, was diagnosed with a terminal illness, causing her to spend her dying days in a hospital bed. Both figures represent the stress, sadness, pain, depression, and anxiety that James felt as he watched his wife slowly die. Abstract Daddy, first shown in Silent Hill 2, resembles two figures under a massive flesh, the bottom of which is struggling to escape the dominant mass on top. This is believed to symbolize the character Angela Orozco, who was molested by her father as a child. When she killed him, her guilt created Abstract Daddy. One of the most iconic villains in Silent Hill, Pyramid Head, portrays the dominant masculine side of James, showing acts of brutality that James has thought of but never could act out. Some have come to speculate that each of Nintendo's games are connected through the same universe, yet set in different time periods. Before we even get into this theory, a quick warning. This theory is very all over the place, and not much truly makes sense. It starts with the creation of the universe. The world was in chaos, and it was impossible for any kind of life to be born there. This was until the gods Furor, Din, and Nehru, the three goddesses seen in the Legend of Zelda series, created land, water, and life that would soon inhabit this planet. In honor of this new world, the goddesses left behind the Triforce, a symbol of the god's power, which would lie in the sacred realm. Following the creation of life in the Triforce, Nintendo's 1984 game Devil World depicts a world before humans had established a foothold on the planet. Following this would be Fire Emblem and Fantasy Life. The games would have taken place in the Lost Golden Age, as their technologies seemed to be much more advanced than those in the Dark Ages. Following these three games is Earthbound, taking place in the 1990s. In the Mother or Earthbound games, many enemies can use a magic referred to as Psi. However, it appears that most of the public is unaware of these creatures. Another key detail is the existence of time travel, as it is how Ness and the other characters reach the final level, the Cave of the Past. The game's main villain, Gygus, also cements the existence of eldritch abominations. After Earthbound comes Pokemon. It is believed that these magic-using creatures would soon be known as Pokemon, as many would soon find out about them and marvel at their existence, hoping to domesticate them. Another connection, though a very iffy one, is Pokemon Centers, which heal the Pokemon through sleep, like how Ness and the others would be healed in bed. Animal Crossing comes next, in which Pokemon have evolved to be fully sentient animals capable of speech. They also would have interbred with normal animals, causing them to have much more normal and realistic looks. Hundreds of years after the Animal Crossing games, the Star Fox series takes place. Using their intelligence, animals would have created their own society in space with its own military. After an unknown period of time, humanity also begins to reach towards the stars, resulting in the Metroid franchise. The War of Demise directly follows these events, and this marks the ensuing apocalypse. It is stated that in the Hyrule Historia, the Demon King Demise waged a war on the gods in an attempt to steal the Triforce and use its power for himself. While most of humanity has left for space, those who remained on the planet had to live with the assault. Medusa, of Kid Icarus, was one of Demise's lieutenants. This would also place the first Kid Icarus before or during the war, with Uprising taking place 20 years after. After the war, the world is so damaged and violent for any normal human that the goddess Hylia lifts a piece of land into the sky to protect all humans. This, in turn, would be the start of the Legend of Zelda franchise. Much of this theory I had to cut out due to the fact that it just didn't make any sense, and I wanted it to at least make a bit of sense to you guys. Games like Splatoon, Mario, Donkey Kong, Pikmin, and Xenoblade just did not fit in very well at all, and just led me to being incredibly confused. This theory is much like the earlier theory, that Smash Bros. Takes place inside of a child's imagination. However, this theory states that the kid we watch grow up is actually Masahiro Sakurai himself, and this has to do more with his career and him growing older, rather than him being a child. Master Hand represents the side of himself that wants to create these games and keep creating. Crazy Hand represents the part that wants to destroy, to do whatever he wants and not have any constraints put on him. And Master Core, well, Master Core is different. In Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, after fighting Master Hand, Master Core breaks out of Master Hand, the hand that creates and follows rules. In an interview with Sakurai, he stated the following: "You could say that all the effort in the past to stretch out, keep pushing myself, and provide all these extra merits wound up tightening the noose around my neck in the future. That may seem like it contradicts my personal desire to keep giving gamers as much as I can, but I don't see an easy answer for it. And yet, despite that, I also have trouble picturing someone else taking my place." Master Core represents this personal feeling. Master Core bursts out of Master Hand, representing Sakurai, tired of being in control all the time and having to create these games, and puts up one last dramatic fight. One last fight to break free of his personal feelings and struggles. But after that fight, it gives up. It becomes this small ball that does nothing except sit there, waiting for the player to attack. It willingly gives itself over to the player as it slowly moves closer, waiting for the player to end it. If Sakurai gives up on Super Smash Bros. And quits, he no longer is in control of the franchise, something he doesn't want to think of. But if he continues to work, he's facing more years of exhaustion, wishing that he could do other things. And that marks the end of part 1 of the video game theories Iceberg. I just want to give a quick shout out to InvinciblElliott on Reddit. I'll leave a link down to his Reddit and the Iceberg in the comments below. I want to thank all of you for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. And also, if you have any feedback for me, please leave it in the comments down below. That's it for this video, and I'll see you all next time.